All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. I was actually doing another video, which will be uploaded after I do the live stream, but something caught my attention. It looks like rockets are starting to go off in Israel, which is a major escalation from what's been happening from Friday. I'm waiting for some people to get here before I go too far into it. But essentially, let me kind of tell you what I've been thinking about this whole situation. There's been a lot of stuff that's kind of come together, right, to make for a really bad situation. Ramadan in the month of Nisan happening at the same time, so you have Muslims that are fasting the whole month. In fact, it's interesting because when I was in the army, uh, toward the last part of it, my company commander, she was a Muslim, and we were out at the motor pool. We were doing inventories. It was really hot, and I could tell that she was getting a little bit, uh, she was losing energy. And then I found out that she was Muslim and she was observing Ramadan, and I was like, oh my gosh. Now, later she did drink some water. She asked if she could have some water, and so I gave her some. But it's I'll tell you what, if I was Muslim, this would be the worst month of the year. I would be grumpy every single day until nighttime. I don't know if it's like after sundown that they start to eat for the day. I think it is. But anyway, whatever the case, they're having a holy month right now. They're observing it at the Temple Mount. At the same time, you have the Jews that are observing Passover. Today, you know what is today? I think today is the third day of Passover. Let me pull up my Hebrew calendar. If you want to check out the Hebrew calendar, this is the one that I always use. I'll put it in the chat and in the description later on if you'd like to go check this out yourself. But anyway, okay, let me check out the calendar. I think this is Pesach 3 today. Yes, it is. Today is the third day. It started on Friday at sundown, but if you're counting like full days, Saturday was the first, yesterday was the second day of Pesach, and today is the third day of Pesach. So, and it's going to go all the way until Saturday of this week. So, uh, so essentially, you have these groups that are fighting over the Temple Mount, right? The Muslims want to keep the status quo. They want to have it just for Muslims. It's their third holiest site. It's the Al-Aqsa Mosque, along with the Dome of the Rock. And so tensions flared on Friday. Uh, According to what I read, now I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I don't know when things are being said in a biased way when it comes to the news. But from what I read, it started with Palestinian youth that started throwing rocks and stuff at police. And then police went in and they raided the compound and they arrested about 300 people, right? Before that day, before Friday, there was a banner that was hung up at the Temple Mount by Hamas calling for a general mobilization of all, I don't know, the entire Muslim world, I suppose. Um, some of this seems to be fueled by a prophecy or a calculation that someone has come up with saying that Israel is going to cease to be a state this year. The first one that I had heard of came from Amir Sephardi. He said that it was a Iranian cleric that said that by July 8th, although when I read the Haaretz article, they were saying that Hamas was saying that it would be by June. But either way, I don't know if there's like different schools of thought on this like timeline or whatever. But the thing that stunned me was that 73% of Palestinians believe that prophecy or that calculation, whatever. And so you have the two holidays going on at the same time. You have a Muslim end days prophecy that's also happening at the same time, right? And things seem to be really crazy right now as far as the Jews expecting a Messiah. I've done numerous videos about that. It's like at a fever pitch, essentially. especially with what's happening with the Israeli government, which is unstable, which just adds more fuel to the fire. Um, so, what I was expecting after Friday, I was thinking, okay, this is it. Things are probably going to go crazy at this point. Well, that didn't really happen. Friday, that was like the big flashpoint, but then the next day was relatively calm. They actually opened up the West Bank to allow Palestinians to, because like usually during Jewish feast days, from what I read, they have it locked down just to keep the peace. But maybe as like a olive branch or something like that, they decided to open it up a day early. Um, there was like a little bit of like kind of like scuffles and things going on. Uh, for example, there were Palestinian youth that were throwing rocks and stuff at buses that were headed to uh, the Western Wailing Wall, right? Because the buses going to that direction would mostly be Jews in those buses, so they would be targeted. Um, but anyway, like nothing went too crazy, and so I was kind of like, oh well, maybe nothing's really gonna happen. Maybe it's just gonna kind of fizzle out. But just a few minutes ago, I saw some news stories that popped up within the last hour talking about rockets going off, and so it looks like maybe there's still fuel and tension and fire behind what's going on. So I'm going to read some of that in just a moment. We have Daniel Anderson saying, just curious, do you think the situation will continue to escalate from here? Hello again, by the way. Hello. Make sure everyone that's watching, if you don't mind, put where you're from in the chat. But I don't know. I thought before, like at the beginning of this, that it was going to escalate, but it just kind of seemed to like not really do a whole lot. But now rockets are going off. So at this point, we have 26 people watching. So I'm going to read a couple of these articles, not the whole thing, but just part. I haven't even looked at them yet. So this will be new to me. Right now I'm in the New York Times. They say Jerusalem. Militants in Gaza fired a rocket into Israeli airspace on Monday night that was intercepted by an Israeli air defense system as tensions continue to rise after recent clashes between Palestinians and the Israeli police at a holy site in Jerusalem. No group immediately claimed responsibility for the rocket attack, but it followed several recent hints by Islamic Jihad, a militant group in Gaza. Now, remember, you have Hamas in Gaza, but then, you have Islamic Jihad. That's a different group. That it may respond to the clashes at the Aqsa Mosque compound, known to Jews as the Temple Mount. It was believed to be the first rocket since January from Gaza, where tensions have been comparatively low since the end of the 11-day war between Gaza militants and Israel last May. So, I wouldn't count too much the January one because it seems like that was just kind of an isolated incident, but nothing really big like this has happened since the 11-day war last year, which was, it was relatively intense. Then we have here, this is the postgazette.com. They are saying they're also reporting just a rocket. So rocket singular, not plural. So far, it looks like that's all that's going on. We have the Miami Herald. They are saying the same thing. Rocket into southern Israel for the first time in months. Okay, so that's what we have going on. A new escalation. I don't know. It doesn't seem too serious if it's just one rocket, but all these stories are just within the last hour. So I don't know if that there's going to be more rockets after this. Anyway, we got Joe Sines, Ames, Iowa. Oh, by the way, Joe, I did the video I'm going to upload after this. It's based on the comment you made. I think you were the one that was talking about the trumpet of Angel Moroni and how it was actually 2 days later that the first presidency called missionaries back to the United States and Canada. But that's going to come out after this live stream. So just, make sure not to miss it. Nat and Joe Christensen. Portales, New Mexico, only 15 miles from Texas. So I identify as Texan. Well, you might want to think about moving to Texas. I love Texas. That was like the first place that we started looking at when we knew that we wanted to homestead. So I'm guessing if we look, okay, I'm going to look at where that is. Portales, New Mexico. Because I'm wondering, is that like anywhere near El Paso? Because whenever I think of New Mexico and Texas, I think of El Paso. No, that's not even close. Like the closest Texas big city would probably be either Amarillo or Lubbock, Texas. Okay, cool. So anyway, you guys tell me, what do you think is going to happen? What's your take? Have you been following the situation? Do you think things are going to get worse, or do you think it's just going to kind of peter out? I felt like things would probably escalate a lot quicker than they have, but I'm not going to say that they can't. But it just seems really more like on the mild side from what I thought was going to happen. Joe Signs says, did I hear correctly that the Jews have been prepping to build the temple so that when it's time, they could assemble it quickly? Well, what I know is that they already have like the schematics, they have the blueprints to build the temple. I think that it could be done relatively quickly. And then I did a video, I don't know, it's probably a couple months ago, where they have an altar, like an altar that can officially be used for a Temple Mount sacrifice without a temple. So, like, let's say that they got the red heifer that was a pure red heifer that they could use for its ashes in order to cleanse the site, as well as the priests, as well as the instruments and altars and all that stuff. As soon as that happens, then they could take that altar. It's like a portable altar that they could take up as like a temporary use altar. In fact, they unveiled that, I want to say it was this last Hanukkah, actually. They had altars before, but then they got like a new one. I don't know really the story behind that. But anyway, but yeah, as far as like a temple goes, I don't think that it would take too long for them to build the temple. From everything that I've researched, they have everything made. If you go to the Temple Institute, they seem to be the authority behind that. They're the ones that have made all the instruments, including the Ark of the Covenant, as well as the high priest's, robes and the breastplate, including the gems that are on the breastplate. They have everything ready. So I think that it could be done pretty quick. But some miracle would probably have to take place in order for them to do it. I don't know how they could possibly do it without a miracle. Let's see. Nat and Joe Christensen, me too. We just moved from Texas and we miss it. That's too bad. I'm sure New Mexico is great, but I like Texas. The only thing I didn't like about Texas, at least in central Texas, there's a lot of cedar trees, and my allergies are just beyond crazy. Usually like in winter time, like January, February is when it's the worst. Lisa Brault says, I grew up in El Paso, so I identify as Mexican. Laugh out loud. Nat and Joe Christensen, laugh out loud. I love it, Lisa. Sarah Hook says, hello from Utah. I recently found your channel. Very interesting stuff. Good. Welcome to the channel. I've already done a lot of stuff. I've been doing this for, I think we're going on 8 months now. So check out my playlist because I have them all organized by subject matter. And so maybe if there's something that you're more interested in, you can see what we've talked about to this point. And if you don't mind me asking, where in Utah are you from? Because that's where I'm originally from. I'm from the Salt Lake area, Murray, Utah. But I've also lived in Arizona and Texas and now Kansas. And I served my mission in Spain. The video that I put out, that I'm about to put out after this, there was an interesting interview. Not so much an interview, but like a tour of the Washington, D.C. temple. It was done by CBS. And if you watch the video, you'll see the details. about that, but I would encourage you to watch that. I'll put that link in the chat in case you want to go watch that sooner than later. But it was done by D. Todd Christofferson and David A. Bednar. So you have the two Davids. So that's kind of interesting. I'm not saying that there's a two Davids thing, but just we have two apostles right now that both their first name is David. Dana Stenerson says, hi, Dana San Clemente. Okay, that's in California, right? So anyway, just wanted to bring that to you. Just wanted to hop on here really quick and just make mention of the fact that there's at least one rocket that's been flying. I don't know if there's more to come. Let me do another quick search. Jerusalem. And then let's sort it by the last hour. Israel says rocket fired from Gaza intercepted as Jerusalem tensions spike. I don't feel like they're spiking. I feel like that's a poor choice of words. Gaza militants fired a rocket into Israel Monday, the Israeli army said, the first such incident in months, and a sign that a wave of violence around Jerusalem holy site could escalate further. Sirens sounded in the area surrounding the Gaza Strip, the Israeli army said, referring to the Palestinian enclave controlled by the Islamist group Hamas. One rocket was fired from the Gaza Strip into Israeli territory. The rocket was intercepted by the Iron Dome air defense system. There were no immediate reports of casualties, and no faction in the crowded enclave of 2.3 million inhabitants immediately claimed responsibility. So, see, I don't know really what the point is of that. I'll put these, I'm going to put these websites in the chat in case you want to go see those. Sarah Hook says all over Salt Lake, but currently in Eagle Mountain. Okay. We got Jamila. Hello from Switzerland. Oh, it's a first. It's the first Swiss that I've ever had on the channel that I know of. Welcome. We had a missionary when I was in Phoenix that was from France, but she was on the border of Switzerland, and she primarily spent most of her time in Switzerland, like working, and I think she had dual citizenship, and she liked Switzerland better. I think she even wanted to move there, but that's great. Phil and Malia Waits says, I've never caught a live before. You have this time. Hello from Duncan, Arizona. Where is Duncan, Arizona exactly? I lived in Arizona probably altogether about 4 years. Duncan, Arizona. Let's see. That's on the border with New Mexico. We were just talking about New Mexico, and it looks like your closest kind of like large place or would be Safford. And that's where, wasn't there a temple there? The Gila, is that where the Gila Valley Temple is? You'll have to let me know. Okay. Jamila says, I'm actually Swedish living in Switzerland. Okay. You'll have to let me know what you think about Russia and their provocations with Finland and Sweden. Is that something that you're worried about? Nunya Biz says, rocks thrown at Temple Mount last week in Al-Aqsa Mosque were ravaged by Muslims, believe it or not, in response to Israel fights in Gaza. Going to get worse before better. Yeah, I guess we'll see. I don't understand, like, okay, if things are going to escalate, why just one rocket? Like, what's the purpose of that? Are they just kind of like testing things out before the main operation gets going? Like, why just, that's weird. One rocket. It feels like everything's been kind of sluggish, like almost like there's, and I could be reading it wrong. I don't know. If you go to Twitter, there's a hashtag called Al-Aqsa is under attack. And there's a lot of very passionate tweets and a lot of good footage of what's going on. Although, view it at your own risk because there's a lot of violence and stuff. And I don't know. It feels like someone is trying to get things going. Hamas is. They put up the banner calling for a general mobilization. but it doesn't seem like there's been much of a response to that call. But I don't know. The thing that stuns me again is the Muslim prophecy that's been confirmed by Haaretz, that they believe that Israel is going to cease to be a nation this year. Um, that gets my attention because if there's enough people that want to act on that, then could we see the final war start this year? I don't know. All we can do is just watch. Phil and Malia Wade says, grew up in Mesa, Arizona. Yes, Gila Valley Temple. Okay, cool. Shut Up and Pray says, Southwest Missouri. Cool. I've been near Southwest Missouri, but I have not actually been. I've only been to Kansas City, but I've been to Southeast Kansas to pick up calves. Jamila says, we are currently having violent civil unrest, burning and fighting in multiple cities in Sweden due to the second Quran burning by extremist politician and his cohorts. Yeah, the world is, it's just like getting crazier and crazier. There's more and more unrest as time goes on. Nunya Biz says, Zulu sent suicide fighters to check defenses, shoot a rocket in, see how long it takes Israel to find its location, let alone the Iron Dome makes them useless. Oh, okay. So yeah, kind of like a test. Maybe to like as a prep to get like everything going, to kind of like calibrate, get ready for the fight. Living the dream. Hi from Tucson, Arizona. That is where our sister-in-law, her family's from there. They still live there, most of them, I think, but she lives in Vegas now. Were you the one that told me that old Tucson is now shut down? That was like some of the saddest news that I've heard all year. Nunya Biz says, sorry to hear. Noah writing, some Muslim nations plus Egypt and others are food insolvent right now. They get most of their food from Ukraine's wheat farms. Egypt specifically, you can see this. This means lots of unrest and anger. Yeah. I did a video earlier today actually about that, about how both Russia and Ukraine are in the top 8 of the world's wheat producers, which I didn't know. I definitely didn't know with Russia. I knew that Ukraine was, but you have the number 3, which is Russia, and then number 8, if I'm getting it right, which is Ukraine. So having both of those countries warring with each other, well, the effects of that, is felt throughout the world, obviously. So not good. Cecilia Hitch says hello from Iowa. I actually have a fair amount of people from Iowa that show up here. Hi, welcome. Pauline Fife says, wow, Sweden. What cities are affected? Other parts of the country okay? Becky Wright, I think it's the first time I've seen you in the chat. It says, hi, Jared from Springville, Utah. I finally caught your live chat. Oh, yeah, there you go. Welcome. Nunya Biz says, didn't Libya or someone lose all their grain in a big explosion years ago? I don't know. Jamila says, Sweden is prepared for war. They have been preparing for years. They sent out a pamphlet with how to prepare for war, what we are expected to have for provisions and preps. Bombshells are being updated. That's what she said. Are being updated. That really sucks. Now, on a good note, it doesn't seem like Russia's been very effective with Ukraine, which that's something that shocked me because and I think a lot of other people, including experts, I think that they expected that they would be able to invade the whole country, Afghanistan or Iraq style, like have it done within a relatively short amount of time. But it looks like they're struggling. They still haven't taken Kyiv. There is a lot of death and destruction, but it's not going very well for Russia. So if I was from Sweden, Finland, I would still be worried. I don't know if Russia would be crazy enough to like continue doing this with other countries, but I don't know. I'm just surprised that they've done so poorly in trying to take Ukraine. Um, Noah writing. Oh, I'll take a look at your other video. Didn't know you did that. Anyway, the amount of wheat coming out of Ukraine and Russia. Yeah, lots of trouble. Thank you for commenting on this. No problem. Lisa brought kind of like a sibling tauntingly saying, "I'm not touching you. I'm not touching you." Who knows? Who knows why the one missile attack? Well, I do. I think I agree with Nunya Biz that it might be just kind of like a feeler type rocket, just to kind of see how get a sense, like get everything calibrated. Okay, this time, what are their defenses like? Like, have there been any upgrades? Do they respond faster? Are we able to outrun them when they come looking for us? I don't know. Patty Joe Stanaway says Armageddon War is different than Ezekiel War. The Ezekiel War is Gog and Magog comes first. These are the countries involved: Russia, Turkey, Iran, Libya, Sudan. And of course, that we can't say that for absolutely for sure, but that might be a very good guess. We'll just have to see what happens when it happens. Nunya Biz says, turn the gas pumps to the road and light it. 2,000 vehicles struck on a burning road. Jamila says, well, several cities are affected. She's talking about Sweden. The rest okay for now. However, we have Sharia law in multiple areas since many years ago, meaning no-go zones, no police, no emergency vehicles. And then Nunya Biz says Russian convoys. So, yeah, that's where we're at right now. I don't know what's going to happen. I'm just going to reiterate. I feel like things would have like escalated quicker. I'm not sure why they aren't. It seems like tensions are rising, but like at a slower pace than what I would have expected. I think it's a dangerous situation with Russia and Ukraine going to war at this time. There's just a lot of things lining up. There's a somewhat unstable Israeli government. There's a Muslim prophecy that Israel's going to end this year. You have Ramadan and Passover happening at the same time. NATO is mostly, I think, focused on Russia and just watching that situation. So if you're someone that wants to do something against Israel, I feel like now is like a really good time to do it, while people have their hands tied, they're involved in other things. Nunya Biz says, first fruits this coming Sunday should tell us if this is small spike or serious poo. Well, I will say this. I think I made a mistake as far as first fruits go. Because I'm still learning, about the Jewish feast days. What I had said earlier, and this was based on a Jewish blog that I read. They were explaining the three feasts that are involved in the Passover. You have the Passover Seder, which is the main meal, and then you have the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which runs the entire week. You don't have anything that has leaven. And then you have first fruits. Well, the blog said that they observe first fruits on the first Sunday after the first Sabbath or Saturday during the Passover period. But somebody on the channel today brought up the fact that it's on the 16th of Nisan. So in other words, it's on a fixed day. It's not necessarily always on Sunday. So I looked into it, and it looks like, from what I can tell so far, that there's one tradition that was actually pushed mostly by the Sadducees back when they were a thing, that it was supposed to be on the Sunday following the first Sabbath. But it seems like the consensus, from what I can tell, is that most of them observe it on the second day of Pesach or Passover, which this year it happened to be yesterday on the 17th, because yesterday was the second day of Pesach. So next year, for example, okay, let me look at 2023. Give me just 1 second. Next year, according to that, first fruits would be on a Friday, Friday the 7th of April. So I don't understand fully right now, but that seems to be the consensus from the research that I did today, is that it's always on the 16th of Nisan, although some traditions may hold it the first Sunday or the first day after the first Sabbath. But one thing about it is, because there's no temple right now, they don't observe first fruits the same way that they would have during biblical times. Because during biblical times, if you were a farmer and you grew crops, one of the 7 crops, like olives, figs, pomegranates, wheat, barley, I can't remember them all, but if you had one of the 7 crops, then you would actually take it to Jerusalem and then you would make an offering. Um, so since there's no temple right now, they don't do it, but they consider you as filling Bukarim or first fruits as you study about it and observe it, and as you observe the entire Passover um, observance for that week. So Jamila says, what is scary is Muslims are not allowed by the Quran to be violent during Ramadan, yet here we are. Yeah, see, and that's one thing I don't know enough about. Um, although that sounds right. Noah Writing says, wanted to ask if Kansas is cheap to live. Yes, that's why we moved here. Utah has become too expensive. It's upsetting. I hope later you could maybe go into how people find cheap rural places to live in and still be LDS. It doesn't have to be now. No, I'll just do it really quick. It's easy. Now, this may seem difficult to some, but it takes us 45 minutes to get to church, but it's not really that big of a deal. Like once you start to live out in the country, like when you live in a big city, it's like everything's close, right? And it's easy to get to Walmart or Target or Best Buy or Costco or whatever places that you like to shop. But when you move out to the country, it's not really that big of a deal. Me and my wife, we usually go maybe once or twice a week. We'll go to like Wichita, or we'll go to Enid, Oklahoma, or we'll go to like different places where they have the places that we want to shop. And we enjoy our time. We go for a nice ride together. And every Sunday we go 45 minutes to church, and it's just not a big deal. In my town that I live in, it's a town of only about 2,000 people. Uh, there's only a couple LDS people here aside from us, and they're not active in the church. But it hasn't affected our spirituality at all. We're still connected with the members of the ward. The size of our ward is maybe a little bit smaller than a typical ward, but it's not like a small ward. So it's not a branch. So I guess it just depends on where you move to. But we're in the Wichita stake, and in the Wichita area, there's several different stakes. There's the Derby stake, Wichita stake, and then there's another one. I can't remember, but I don't know. And we're getting a temple now. So there's been a lot of people moving from the West to the Midwest because home prices are amazing. If I try to buy this place that we have right now, we just have a 2-acre little homestead, a little family farm. If we try to buy that in Utah, it would probably be like almost $1 million, literally. Um, I mean, something like that. Probably like 500 million to a million, just depending on the location. We have a stream on our property, which is really cool. We have like a barn type. It's like a lean-to, but it's not a lean-to. We call it the barn. It's like a shed type thing. And then we have a shed, and then we have a 2-car garage that has 2 workshops. We have a lot. Like if you look here in the Midwest, Missouri, Kansas, Arkansas, Texas, you'd be amazed what you could get compared to what you could get in Utah, Arizona, Colorado. Anywhere west of Kansas is expensive, but the Midwest is pretty darn cheap. So it's amazing. I love it here. I like the people here. They're kind. They're very. It feels like there's more accountability, kind of, when you're living in a smaller community, because like you don't have the benefit of anonymity, so you're more accountable for your actions, and so people don't. They're more careful with how they behave with other people. It's amazing, and I would never want to go back to living in Salt Lake or a large city, at least not anytime soon. Nunya Biz, Omaha, Nebraska here. Little pink houses for you and me. Peter Pilcher says, yeah. And then Jamila says, you stay better prepared if you're further away, but you buy smarter and are less prone to overspending in spontaneous buys. Yeah, I would agree with that. Joe Sign says, I had a house in Layton, Utah in 2010. I bought for 135,000. Oh my gosh, look at this. We sold in 2015 for 185,000, and now it's worth 400,000. I don't know how people can afford that. Well, they can't. They can't. That's why there's like this there's seriously a migration happening. There's several other people in my ward that have moved from places like Idaho and Utah because of home prices. This might be the Lord's hand in getting people back into the heartland of the United States. It's my understanding, we've covered it many times on the channel, that um, Jackson County, Independence, Missouri, still is the center place for the New Jerusalem once it gets built. It's going to be built right there. And so there's not going to be like a general call of like, okay, everyone, we're going to, to New Jerusalem now. I don't think that's ever going to happen. By the way, I'm going to be doing a little series based on an article from the Ensign called Missouri Myths. And it goes over things like, some people think that the entire church is going to go to Jackson County, Missouri, which isn't true. Or the whole thing about Missouri being wiped clean and you won't be able to find a yellow dog. This is from a 70s Ensign article. I did it before on the channel, but because there's so many new people, I want to do it again and just do one video per myth, just to really focus on each one. So anyway, Noah writing, you're wonderful, really awesome. It's cool to be able to ask stuff like this in a small environment and talk. Although I'm in Utah, I really talk to people here. I've always liked smaller towns. Thanks. Yeah, I would encourage you if you can. The only reason why we're able to do it though is because I work at home. I'm self-employed, so I'm used to making enough money to survive in like Arizona and then bring that with me to Kansas. So if you work from home or online, it might be an easier transition, but that's why we're able to do it. But our house is really cheap. It's in the hundreds, as in like the hundreds, the low hundreds. That's how much this place cost. And we have a family farm and we have so much space. 2 acres is a lot of space. We wanted to get more. We were shooting for more like 5 or 10, but 2 acres is enough to have, a little bit of cattle, maybe, 3, 4 or something like that. You might have to supplement with hay, but it's not that big of a deal. And we're going to have a little orchard and we have enough for a garden and then even more space than what we need. Okay. Nunya Biz says, no food taxes here, but property taxes stink because no tourist attractions. Yeah. Cecilia Hitch, I live in what I call a suburb of Nauvoo. I grew up in Iowa, but went away for school, work, etc. Now I'm 20 minutes from Branch and 30 from Temple. How does life get better? Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. I have ancestors that were sealed in the Nauvoo Temple. I haven't been there yet, but now that I'm closer, I'd like to make a trip there and check it out. I'd like to go through the temple, maybe do a session. Sandra Carton says, Port St. Lucie, Florida. Where's that at? St. Lucie, Florida. That is kind of it's like north of West Palm Beach, by Vero Beach, Melbourne. In my job that I do, aside from making some money here, my main job, graphic design, I do a bunch of different designs. And one thing I'm doing right now is a series of surf designs. And I'm doing Florida right now. I actually just within the last couple months, I did Vero Beach. I've also done some other ones. I can't remember off the top of my head, but yeah, Satellite Beach, Cape Canaveral, Cocoa Beach, Daytona Beach. Anyway, Sorry, that's just a side note. Nunubis says the rocks that move in that desert, Utah recently got scientifically explained with cameras. I won't give spoilers. I know that there's the ones that happen in Death Valley in California. So I don't know if that's what you're referring to or if there's some that it happens in Utah too. Lisa Brault says, I live in luxury apartments in West Valley. I teach piano, so I can't live in the middle of nowhere. Yeah, it's not going to work for everybody, but if you can, I would recommend it. Living the dream, yes. I just found out that old Tucson may get a facelift and have another operator, but nothing yet. Less emphasis on Western movies and more on how it was in the 1889s or 90s. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I love Westerns. I do. That's like a form of escapism for me, is being able to go and watch Westerns. It just like takes you to another simpler time, dangerous, but I don't know. I like Westerns quite a bit. Father of the Lake said, sorry, yeah, Father of the Lake says, from Dan, I love your channel. I just wanted to say hi. Hi and welcome. JT says, hi, Jan. Jan here from Perth, Western Australia. Awesome. You might be the first Australian that I've talked to on the channel, I think. I think Perth is where, do you guys watch that YouTube channel called How Ridiculous? It's these three it's these three Australian guys, and they dropped like all these different things from like a tower, and they just do like a bunch of like really fun stuff like popping balloons. And anyway, more recently they have like this gigantic like hammer that's like the size of a building. A gigantic hammer that's like the size of a building, and they crush objects with it. How ridiculous. I would recommend that channel. I think they're from Perth. Living the dream. I don't understand how Israel could cease to be. Is that prophecy too? No, that's just that's like an Islamic thing that's going around right now. From what I can tell, it seems like there's two different competing prophecies. One that Amir Sephardi talked about that he said came from an Iranian cleric, and by his calculation, it would be by July 8th of this year. And then another one that I saw in Haaretz that said that Hamas was saying that by June of this year. So I don't know if it seems like it's like the same type of prophecy, but maybe a different calculation. Now, from our church, Israel is going to be invaded. There will be a battle of Armageddon, and then there's going to be the siege on Jerusalem. And then that's where essentially Israel is going to be losing the war. The city is going to be under siege, it's going to be invaded, and then Christ is going to come to the Mount of Olives, and he's going to save them in a Messiah-like fashion that they are expecting. So I don't know. So what I'm wondering is, with what's happening this year, with all these different things lining up that we've been talking about in the chat, could this be the start of that final war? I don't know. We've talked about how different things seem to happen on the Jewish feast days. Even today, we had, like I said, there's been Joseph Smith who received the brass plates, or the gold plates, I mean, on Rosh Hashanah. So that has significance to our day. We're in modern days. It's the last dispensation, and they still have significance. And then there was Elijah that came on first fruits. So let's just pretend, like, let's say that this is the start of the final war. Well, it started on Passover, the day of the Seder, the Passover meal. So I don't know. This may be the beginning of the end, but I don't know. Let's see. We got Nunyabiz, Living the Dream. It's funny old Western town in 1880, while Brooklyn Bridge ended construction then. Noah writing. I'm curious if 2 acres is big enough to do sheep. I'm sure it is. It's big enough to do cows. I've done in doing ducks. They can bring in a lot of food on small space. I do geese if I were rural. Gardening has opened a new world for me. Yeah, when we started, we started with goats because our frame of mind was like, okay, goats are smaller, they must be easier. Let's do goats, and that's not the case. Goats are hard. Um, they're difficult, and one of the most difficult things about them is, and I think the same is probably true of sheep, maybe a little bit less, but goats escape very, very easily. Um, they're very naughty, and so we just got cows, and cows are easy. They're super easy. And so far, we haven't had any issues as far as like running out of grass. We haven't had to supplement with hay, except for in the winter time, because you pretty much always have to do that, have hay during the winter. But if it ever gets to the point where our pasture can't sustain our cattle, then we'll just buy some hay from a friend of ours in town. So I'm more of a cattle person. I like cows. You can get milk. I mean, you can get milk from goats, but like, would you rather have milk from a goat or milk from a cow? I guess it depends on if you're like lactose intolerant. None Biz says, laugh out loud. Sorry, laugh out loud for a speaker, not your comment. None Biz says, 67 war fulfilled. Messiah already came through East Gate and left. Prince that built the dome came and left. Why? I don't know. Okay. Sam Lee says, naughty, naughty bird. Cecilia Hitch, I love your wife giggled at your naughty goat comment. They are. They're just. It was actually kind of a nightmare. There's some people that love goats. We're not among those people. Cows are so easy, and they're cute. I love them, and you can get so much meat out of them. We have yet to do that because we're still new at it, but because we have these two that have survived, these are going to be meat cows, just like we intended them to be. And we're going to start with the Angus Hereford cross. Jamila says, it's been such a pleasure being here with such lovely people. I must go to bed. It's almost 2 a.m. Oh, what are you doing up so late? I loved winding down after night shift with you. Okay, because of your job. Have a good night. Hope you have sweet dreams. And make sure to check the video out tomorrow that I'm about to put out after this. None Biz, Cha, blessings. Sarah Hook says, cool. I didn't know you were by Wichita. I live in Valley Center north of Wichita I lived in Valley Center north of Wichita for about 9 years. We came back for family reasons to Utah, but miss a lot about Wichita. Yeah, it's a nice area. I like it. I don't like it so much as you go east of Wichita because it becomes more like hilly. It becomes more like Missouri, whereas the Wichita area in west is more like flat, and I like that. Jamila says, I will look forward to the video. I'm off to work tomorrow. I'm off work tomorrow. God bless you. You as well. Let me check one more time, see if there's anything else that has to do with rockets. Actually, before I do that, let me put a couple more of these links in the chat in case you want to check out these stories. Okay, there's one. New York Times. Here's another one. Let's see. Let's just do Jerusalem. Anytime past hour. 9 minutes. Israel downs Gaza rocket. No, that's the same story. All right. That's the same story. Okay, I think let's wrap it up. Let me just finish this off. Noah writing, when I tried to butcher my ducks, it was hard. That was the hardest part. That's the hardest part. Regarding your cows, I had to recruit my brother and dad, but then they didn't want to do it either. Laugh out loud. Yeah, I haven't processed ducks before, but we have done chickens, and yeah, maybe at the beginning it's a it's a little bit hard. It's not for the faint of heart. There's a couple ways that you can do it. We've done it both the slitting the neck way, as well as just using an axe. And I prefer the axe because I think it's quicker. Because like when you think about it, if you've ever been knocked out, like I had an accident in Moab, Utah, where I was mountain biking. It was for scouts. I fell off my bike and I got knocked out because I hit my head. But I have absolutely no memory of that whatsoever. And when you hear other people that have suffered traumatic accidents, it's like you don't really experience it if it's bad enough. So, like for example, people that get shot, for example, by a gun, sometimes they don't even know that they're shot until afterwards. So I feel like using an axe, just like the brute force from an axe, the chicken doesn't experience anything. Like it looks horrible, and in a way, it is horrible. But I think that it's
blood all over yourself when you.
Yeah, blood maybe sprays up on your face.
Last year when we did it, I got blood all over my face.
Yeah,
pretty gross.
So it's a little bit horrific, but I think it's the most humane. And we're hoping to do our turkeys this year. We had some turkeys before, but we just got lazy and we didn't do it. But it's really not that bad. Miss Chef Yoda, I had a chicken chase me as a kid after they cut off the head. Did major damage to me as a kid. Melissa Wilson. Also, they were saying that Putin demands the takeover of an old church in Israel. Yeah, I saw that too. I don't. That's weird. Who cares? What's that about? Why does anybody care about that? But that's a story today. I saw that. Joe Signs, breaking the neck first is the best way, so you can control the blood and pluck the feathers before you release the blood. Now, one thing that we've done, the first time that we did it, we gutted it. We did the whole feather thing and all that, which was fine. But because we're not ones to like really eat the heart, liver, gizzard, stuff like that, we just skin it. And it worked. Pretty well, like very easy. Just skinning it, getting the breast, the legs, the wings, and that's it, right? Yeah. So if we get to like a really bad situation where it's like everyone's starving, then yes, we'll eat the heart and liver. Yeah, we will. I'll eat it. I'll eat it. None you biz laugh out loud. Seen a Boy Scout do it to a pigeon named same trauma. Laugh out loud. Yeah, but it's really rewarding. Being able to raise your own food, and then the quality of the food is much better. So there's benefits to raising your own food. It's it's organic, and it's obviously healthier. It's more fulfilling. Okay, that's going to be it for this one. So that's what happened. A rocket was fired, and it may pave the way for more rockets. We'll just have to see. It'd be nice if things just kind of settled down, but we're still in Passover. Who the heck knows what's going to happen? Nate Smith, hi guys, love your channel. Change of subject, but the more I study New Jerusalem, I am wondering if it is Salt Lake City. Check out what the church says now about Zion. Very interesting. Yeah, I've looked into that. In fact, there's one article on the church website where it was almost like making the case that Salt Lake is New Jerusalem. Like at the end of the article, it talks about how Brigham Young started to refer to Salt Lake City as New Jerusalem. But at the same time, I've come across a lot of other stuff on the church website talking about the return to Jackson County. So my current view is that Salt Lake City is currently acting as the center place. If there was a New Jerusalem right now, it would be Salt Lake City. I feel like the Savior could appear there before the second coming. I don't think that New Jerusalem as a city has to be built up in the Kansas City area on top of Independence, Missouri. I think that he could simply go to Salt Lake for now as a substitute, temporary New Jerusalem. But I do think that it will eventually be built, possibly at the beginning of the millennium, where it's supposed to be in Jackson County. But check my playlist. I have a playlist called New Jerusalem where I explore all those ideas, and that's my current thinking right now. Could be wrong. Joe Sign says the prophet and some apostles travel to Missouri all the time. And I get a lot of stories. I take them with a grain of salt, but just with how many I've seen so far, I've heard a lot of stories from subscribers saying how either like them or somebody that they know, a family member, has been involved in setting up Adam-ondi-Ahman, right? Um, and then we know that the independence, one of the biggest things for me, okay, is that the Independence LDS Visitor Center that's by the temple lot, it was designed to be the same dimensions as the original temple had New Jerusalem been built. Okay, so Joseph Smith received revelation what the dimensions of the temple complex should be. Each building should be a certain size. And there would be a 24 temple complex. So they took those dimensions, and that's how they designed the visitor center. And in Alvin R. Dyer's diary, you can find this on the Interpreter Foundation's website. They consulted, the architect and him consulted with David O. McKay about, okay, we're going to build this. We want to take into consideration what the future 24 temple complex would be and how this would fit in. And so they made it so that it could be turned into a temple at some future date. So that's why I did that video about how the church currently has land big enough to make a 24 temple complex, including the Independence Visitor Center, if the Lord says, okay, you don't need to make the temple like the main temple on the Temple Mount area, which is currently owned by the Church of Christ Temple Lot. If the Lord gave President Nelson the commandment, okay, we're just going to use the land that we already have, they could do it right now if they wanted to. So, but anyway, Noah writings, Salt Lake City has a lot of darkness in it right now. Worried about it. Salt Lake, yeah, it's bad. It's not a good place. It's not a good place when I was there. And when I say Salt Lake, I mean, well, I guess you can include most of the metro area. There's places that are good. And when I say good, I mean where there's like more righteous people living, but there's also a lot of worldliness and a lot of animosity against the church in Salt Lake. So Nunya Biz says, beautiful building atop Mount Olives from LDS. Front row seat to the New Jerusalem should be in Jerusalem. Yeah, see my video about the BYU Jerusalem Center. I think that's what you're referring to, which I think will be, if not the temple of Jerusalem, a temple of Jerusalem. I don't know if the third temple that the Jews are trying to make, if that's going to be built before the second coming. But see my playlist called BYU Jerusalem Center. We look at the dimensions of the building. We look at the architecture. We look at the history, because there's like all these miracles that have taken place so that it could be constructed. And I don't think that the Lord intended it just to be a campus of BYU so people could go to Jerusalem and further their Near East studies. I think that it has a much more divine purpose. It involved missionaries who died. There were missionaries that died. This was back in I think it was the early 1900s. There was a Turkey mission, and part of it included Palestine. And there were two missionaries. One, I believe, was from Germany. One was from Utah. I want to say he was from Grantsville. They went on their missions there. They got sick. They caught like a local sickness, and then they died. And they had headstones. And because of those headstones, the church was able to make a legal case that they should be allowed to build the BYU Jerusalem Center, because it had something to do with the laws of well, can you prove that you've had a presence here before Israel became a state? And because of those headstones, they were able to build the BYU Jerusalem Center. I don't think that the Lord would have that as part of his plan, simply so that some BYU students could go study Near Eastern studies. You know what I mean? And like I said, the architecture, when you overlay the tabernacle, or even Solomon's temple on top of the BYU Jerusalem Center, it fits perfectly as far as where the Holy of Holies was. When you look at the blocky feature that's on top of the BYU Jerusalem Center, it's where the Holy of Holies would have been, and the holy place. So anyway, let's see. KSA Alto says the Doctrine and Covenants says that Jackson County is the New Jerusalem. That hasn't changed. Yeah, and I don't think that it has either. Although, like I said, I think that Salt Lake could act as a temporary, if the Lord wanted to come to Salt Lake City before the second coming, I think that he could do that. But I agree that it is still going to be the center place. Nunya Biz says, no more stone temples. David's tabernacle is the prophecy. Now the question is David's tabernacle for the wilderness or David's Sukkot tabernacle. Then he says, oh yes, BYU Jerusalem Visitor Center. Joe Sign says, the prophet did say the biggest miracles are yet to come. Yeah, I wish I could know what those were. One thing that was really interesting that Sister Nelson said is she talked about how there'll be times that President Nelson gets really excited about something. He'll come from meetings, he'll be excited, he comes home, and she's like, what are you excited about? And he'll say, oh, you'll see in 50 years. So you have to wonder what kind of things are being planned, how the way is being paved for ushering in the millennium and what's going to happen once Christ comes. But things do seem to be in the works. Nunyabis says, when did I ever say, where's my cedar stone temple? Not sure what you mean with that one. Richard Grant, virtual background, please. Bedrooms are a sacred place. No, it's okay. I'm okay with it. KSA Alto, the Son of Man will come to the saints while in the Rocky Mountains. Joseph Smith, the prophet. But in what context? I don't know, but this is from remarks of the President Wilford Woodruff. I don't know. I'm not going to pretend to know. I have no idea. We do know, though, that Christ appeared in the Salt Lake Temple to Lorenzo Snow. So that's like one of the few very rare instances that we know that he's visited us in the latter days. Not saying that it fulfills that, but okay. That's going to be it. I'm going to go ahead and take off. So thank you for joining me right now. If anything else big happens, I'll probably do a live stream. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. And I will talk to you guys later.